Welcome, everybody. We'll get started in 2 minutes. So happy that you are back with us for our back to school session here. Thanks for joining. Get started in just a moment. I do need to come up with some AI music for the next session, don't I? I always forget about that part. Marin and Jimmy have gotten that figured out. I need to add that to this session. Facilitator, if you're listening, please send me a reminder to create some AI music for the From Copilot to Conference Room sessions. Jimmy, Jimmy, maybe you can do it. Yep, exactly. Well, Mark, it'll be sure to remind me. It'll delegate a task to me, but I don't think Facilitator will create music for me. I think I have to use a separate AI tool for that. It can do almost everything, but not that yet. Suno, yep. A good one. Looks like John is having a hard time getting let in here. Hopefully that works for him. Okay. Oh my gosh. While I work on still admitting people here, let me go ahead and get started because we've got a lot to talk about. I know we always do. That's how I kick off every single session, is that there's so much to talk about, but there's so much goodness and so many things that I want to share so that you know that this can be a turnkey, valuable time for you. And when we're finished here, you can just take the information and apply it to your day to day. So let me just kind of refocus where we've been, where we are, and where we are going. So if you think about where we were in the session 101, which was like the 100 level of what we're going to be talking about today, in a 200 level, we really focused on becoming effective Copilot users. That was the light bulb session, right? We looked at how practical scenarios that were based on your individual job description, your role, your KPIs and metrics, and how AI could improve your day-to-day productivity. But today we're taking the next step. This session is about moving from simply using AI, aka Copilot, to actually building repeatable ways of working with Copilot, right? So we're going to talk about prompt patterns and reusable workflows, scheduled prompts, which is one of my favorite things, agents, and then when it's time to move from Copilot to something you may have started to hear about recently, CoWork. What is the difference? How do you work in both of them? And when do you work in one versus the other? So most importantly for this session, we connect all of this information back to the business opportunity around Teams rooms, intelligent collaboration spaces. I'm going to lead for the first 45 minutes, and then I'll be handing it to my friend Peter from Barco to join us for the final 15 minutes with some updates from Barco. So again, here is the syllabus for the 200 level series session. It's all designed around one question: how do mine, yours, our customers move from curiosity to scale with their Microsoft Copilot investments? So this session today is going to be focused on AI fluency and adoption. How do people actually become better users of Copilot? How do they begin using agents? And then how do they start creating repeatable patterns of work? Then we're going to move into proving the value. Beyond that, we're going to bring everything together inside the actual physical meeting room, start talking about the actual physical meeting room and how agents become more capable, and how AI becomes more proactive. The room itself becomes an intelligent workspace. And then in 402, the final session of this 200 level series, we're going to talk about partner opportunity, managed services, recurring revenue, adoption programs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as we go through the information today, think about where you and your company and your customers are on this journey and which of these sessions you might like to join. So this is the bridge session from the 100 level to the 200 level. So most people start using Copilot. All of us, I think, probably on this call, started using Copilot by asking questions. A smaller group learns how to get consistently better results. An even smaller group learns how to create reusable workflows and agents. And that is what today's session is about. So everything that we're discussing today becomes the foundation for proving value, for creating intelligent meeting environments, and building scalable services later in the series. Here's where we're headed. We're going to talk about the shift from being a Copilot user to a Copilot builder. Then we're going to look at power skills that you can start developing, mostly around prompting, how great prompting is really about context, when a prompt needs to become a workflow, when a workflow needs to become an agent. We're going to talk about the different AI teammates available to us today. So that's Copilot, other agents, CoWork. Then we're going to walk through practical partner development manager scenario. This is where the template comes in. So Paula Productivity is coming back and she's going to show us her day in the life with CoWork and how this actually works in her day-to-day. We'll see CoWork in action. And then we're going to go through an example of building an agent together and how Agent Builder and Copilot Studio fit into this story. And then again, of course, we're going to bring everything back to Teams rooms and explain why adoption and investment in Copilot ultimately is driving Teams rooms demand. Okay, so the central idea of this session is really simple. A user asks Copilot for an answer. A builder designs a better way of working. So in this scenario, we're all going to be moving from users to builders. But don't panic because a builder doesn't necessarily know more technology. All right. They simply recognize repeatable work. They identify friction. They identify processes that happen over and over. And then they figure out how Copilot or AI can help standardize or better yet, automate part of that process. So the mindset shift is much more important than just learning a new prompt trick. So start thinking about, committing to this paradigm shift of becoming a builder instead of a user. So most AI adoption follows this path. First, we ask, then we refine, then we reuse, and then we build. And the important thing, what I call out here to understand is that this progression is behavioral before it is technical, right? And that's why adoption and investment isn't linear when we're talking about things in AI, because it's not just a tool, a technical thing that you turn on and then it's going full speed ahead. In the there's a progression, right? Because we're human users using a very brand new, very fast, quickly developing tool and technology. So at the beginning, most of us are going to use it because we just want answers, right? We're busy. Give me the answer. Help me save time. Help me be more productive. Help me eliminate the time that I was spending looking for this information or summarizing that information. But after that, we start saving successful prompts, right? That's our refinement. And then we reuse them. And then finally, when the scenario becomes common enough, we can build an agent around what was once just a question, a prompt asking for something. So the goal here isn't for everyone to become a builder tomorrow. The goal is to help us move one step further than we are today. One of the biggest myths, just in AI in general, is that great results come from magical prompts. Good prompts are a very good practice and give you better results. But it's not this sort of magical prompt equation to get perfect results. It doesn't work that way. So the best results actually come from context. And that's why agents and things, what we're going to talk about today, like CoWork and Work IQ and these things that we're going to lean into and teach you about today, that's why they're so important because they provide context. So think about how you would delegate work to a trusted coworker. My friend and coworker Jimmy's on this call today. Historically, I maybe would have said like, "Hey, here's this deck. Add your slides." But now today, we may not do it that way. We wouldn't simply say like, "Go do this." We'd explain the outcome, the audience, the background, and the constraints, possibly. That is how AI works. It's actually asking more questions to get more context to give you a better result. Power users, what we might call a builder, focus less on prompt engineering and more on providing meaningful context. Let me show you how that works. So, this is one of my favorite concepts, right? So, the advanced skill isn't creating a prompt. We're probably all pretty good. I don't know, most of us on this call, anyways, are pretty good at creating reasonably good prompts. So, what we need to focus on is creating a habit, right? So, when you create, find, build, refine a prompt that produces consistent value, we don't want to let it disappear. We want to save it. We want to improve it. We want to share it. We want to schedule it, right? So that it can get automated. And eventually that prompt becomes something the entire Cube Farm team, org, company can benefit from, right? We want to share these great tools that we're building. And this is how personal productivity turns into team and organizational productivity. So the goal is to stop solving the same problem repeatedly and move into a more automated structure of success that we can share with others so that they don't have to keep doing the same thing repeatedly. So scheduled prompts are one of the easiest ways to create immediate value. So think about the work that you do every day, every week. Maybe we're reviewing meetings, we're preparing updates, we're checking action items, we're following up on projects. Oh my gosh, the list goes on, right? Instead of remembering those tasks, schedule the prompt. Instead of remembering the tasks, what do I need to do this week? Did I remember to do that? Oops, I forgot to send that. We're going to schedule the prompt. So this example here is a Monday morning briefing. This is something that everyone on our AI-powered workplace team has built. And we've built it and refined it and shared it. So every Monday, Copilot actually goes in to review my calendar. It summarizes my upcoming meetings. It identifies important follow-ups and just prepares me for the week, right? So the key idea is that we're not automating judgment. Okay? We are automating preparation. So we're not automating decisions necessarily yet. We may get there, but we're automating the preparation, these things that really are sort of, time vampires of our week, how much time we spend preparing things. Those are things that we can absolutely easily automate for us because they're repetitive. And that's a task we want to assign and automate, and automate. So builders start with the work, AKA the context, the outcome that we need, right? Not the tools, right? So we are going to start thinking about the work, the friction, the challenges, the goals, etc., instead of trying to decide, well, which tool do I use? Where do I use it? Am I using an agent? Am I using a Copilot chat? So we don't begin by asking what an AI tool can do. We begin asking where our work is slowing down. What activities are repetitive? What tasks require information from multiple places? That's a big one. That's going to be really fun to talk about in a little bit. Where do people spend too much time gathering information? And then once we identify the friction or the bottleneck, then we can decide which Copilot or AI capability or tool or platform makes sense. And this sequence really matters, right? Because we just want to start thinking with the work, the problem, what we're trying to solve, and then we can think about where to go to get it accomplished and which is the best fit for where to go to get it accomplished. So whenever you're building a prompt, think about it to have 4 different ingredients, right? So we're probably all pretty good at this by now, but just to review, because there may be some people on here that are new to this or recently just got their Copilot license. So we don't want to start, too far ahead. So let me just level set. Purpose, context, constraints, output. And what is our goal, right? What information matters? What limitations exist? What format do we need? Do we want it in a PDF? Do we want it in a table? Do we want it to be able to export to a spreadsheet that we can manipulate? This structure works for almost every scenario. And the real power comes from iterations of this, right? So we go through this one time, and then we're going to we're going to reiterate, build on the prompt to make it as a single prompt the best that it can be. Instead of having to get the same result, we have to plug in like 5 different prompts to drill down into the right response that we want. That helps us refine the output, right? It challenges the assumptions that a lot of us have built over the last couple of years of using Copilot and AI, and it improves the result. And then once we've gotten to that point, we want to save the pattern for reuse, right? We'll save it for ourselves. And then how do we share it with our teammates and other people in our organization so that they can benefit as well? The biggest mistake, I think that, well, maybe not the biggest, but one mistake that people make with agents is starting too broadly. An agent should have one job, one audience, one outcome. And in this example that we have on this slide, we're building a partner readiness agent. And the purpose of this agent is clear. We want to, in this hypothetical scenario, help partners understand program requirements and find approved resources. Everything becomes easier when the scope is narrow, right? So we don't want to start broad. We want to start like, what is this problem that we are trying to solve? And we're going to assign this job to this agent. And that's why successful first agents are usually very focused, grounded, easy to explain, right? Which also drives adoption. Okay. So if you're like, hey, teammate, I built this new agent, it can help you do blah. They're like, hey, I have to do that 3 times a day. I would love not to do that anymore. Share that agent with me so I can use it as well. So come back to this slide. It's slide 12. You can kind of go through this after we go through this session today and kind of go through here and give it a try and see what happens. So at this point, a lot of customers ask the same question, a lot of users. Which tool should I use? And the answer depends on, we're getting very sort of, vaporous now, the shape of the work. Follow me on this. Not every problem needs an agent. Not every problem needs a CoWork or needs to use CoWork. The most effective users pick the lightest tool that solves the problem. So we're going to think about these capabilities as different teammates with different strengths. I wouldn't go to my CEO because I needed help submitting my expense report next week, right? So think about it in those terms. There are different agents with different skills, different capabilities. Let's pick the one with the simplest one to fix our whatever the specific problem is we're trying to solve. So Copilot Chat. If you have a Copilot for Microsoft 365 license, this is sort of like where you go. It's what I call my Copilot nirvana, right? I do a lot of work here. It's your thinking partner. It's perfect for drafting, brainstorming, summarizing, and analysis. Copilot in apps works inside your Word document, your PowerPoint presentation, your Excel spreadsheet, or in your Outlook email that you're already working on. So every app in Microsoft 365 has its own little, plugin of Copilot where it will do work for you in that application. Agents, in the third column, provide specialized expertise. They are grounded in specific knowledge, and they are focused on a particular task. All this is going to make sense soon. CoWork manages a bigger, longer running work. It gathers information, it creates plans, it executes multiple steps, and it keeps you informed along the way. You can see the progression of it. Each of these tools has a specific role for you. Again, context is the differentiator, right? And the reason that Microsoft Copilot feels different from let's just say a generic chat box is the context. So you've probably heard us talking about work IQ. I want to help define that for you in simple, practical terms. Work IQ is what gives us the context. It brings together three things. We get data, we get memory, and we get inference. Data meaning everything that's happening across all of your files, your meetings, your emails, your conversations, everything that's in your Microsoft graph that you have privilege to or access to. Memory captures, love that because it's capturing it, right? Your preferences, your behavior patterns, and ongoing context. So if this is an ongoing project, it's monitoring what the developments are for this project, and it's responding accordingly to the latest preference or update. Inference helps the system reason over all of that information. So the practical takeaway, even though this image looks very, robust and futuristic, the takeaway is simple. Better context creates better results. Better results create better adoption, right? I think we can all understand that. So let's tackle the question everyone's kind of asking, right? So at least this was a big one for me, and I'm betting that it is for a lot of you too. What is the difference between Copilot and CoWork? The easiest way to remember it is this. Copilot helps you create something. If you need help drafting an email, if you need help building a PowerPoint presentation based on a meeting conversation you had yesterday, it's going to help you create something. CoWork, here on the right, helps you own a process. If I need a webinar invitation, a LinkedIn post, a newsletter article, meeting notes, outlines, I'm going over here on the left. Copilot can help create those things for me. I'm simply just asking AI to produce an output. But what if I don't need an output? What if I need a complete business review? What if I need someone to analyze a partner activity? What if I need a readiness report or an executive briefing? That is where CoWork becomes different. CoWork is designed to gather information from multiple places, brings all that information together to develop a plan. This is the best part, to execute that plan, to keep me updated while it's executing the plan, and ultimately return a completed business deliverable, not just a PDF or a PowerPoint or an agenda that it's summarized, a business deliverable. So the goal isn't deciding which one is better. The goal is choosing the lightest tool that matches the work, right? So we want to start, making sure that we're using, there's some good examples on the slide here to help steer you to know where to go. We don't want to be using Copilot or CoWork, to do things that Copilot could do for us. This is the slide I think I want to just summarize this last section. So ask yourself one question. Am I asking AI to create something, or am I asking Copilot to coordinate something? Again, if you're asking for a draft, a summary, a PowerPoint, begin with Copilot. If you're asking Copilot, if you're asking AI to plan, gather, work across multiple systems, monitor progress, etc., consider CoWork, okay? Most people start here, and then over time, they discover scenarios that are better suited for CoWork. That's the natural progression. So don't start with the most complex tool. Start with the simplest tool to solve the problem that you're facing. Just a quick example. So let's compare two requests. The first is a traditional Copilot prompt. Draft a webinar invitation for my next From Copilot to Conference Room session. Perfectly good Copilot task. Specific output, specific audience, specific format. Now let's look at the CoWork example, and hopefully this is kind of where the light bulb moment for this session is going to happen. So instead of creating a piece of content, we're asking CoWork to review communications attendance report, newsletter metrics, planning documents, identifying trends, create a briefing, and draft follow-up materials. We've moved from output to outcome, right? So both are valuable, both are useful, but the difference is delegation. One asks AI for content, that's us over here in the purple. The other asks AI to manage a connected business process, that's CoWork over here in the green. So welcome back, Paula, to our story. Let's make this real. If you attended the any of the 100 level series sessions, you will recognize Paula. She is our avatar for our hypothetical scenarios here that we want to talk through. So again, Paula is a partner development manager, and her job isn't centered around documents. Her job is centered around people, programs, partners, priorities, and outcomes. And if you you may remember from the Light Bulb 101 session that we did, I think that was back in April, what Paula did was she took her her job role description, her OKR metrics, how she's measured, her challenges, her needs, her wants, her latest review document from her boss. She loaded them all into purple slide over here and asked it to create basically a list of 3 things that Copilot identified were her top responsibilities, her top needs, her top challenges, and her top wants. This is the same slide with the same content from that 101 session, okay? So same person, same job, all based on her actual day-to-day needs. So Paula is managing partner relationships. She's coordinating marketing plans. She's driving adoption. She's reviewing investments. She's supporting leadership discussions. And most importantly, probably like a lot of you, all of that information lives in different places. So email, Teams, meetings, business reviews, marketing plans, training systems, dashboards, et cetera. So her biggest challenge isn't finding information. She knows where to go to get it. The biggest challenge is turning information into decisions, right? And this is where CoWork becomes valuable. So let's look at this. Let's imagine that tomorrow morning, Paula has a monthly partner business review and leadership wants a summary and answers after. Maybe they want to know which partners are succeeding, which partners need additional support, which investments are getting results. There's a lot of things that they could want, right? But there could be, a lot of time preparing for this. Reading emails, trying to find the latest update, going to Teams messages, reviewing meeting notes. Oh my gosh, we could go 100 different places, right, to try to get information to prepare for this session. So instead of doing all of that manually, Paula is going to, my favorite word, delegate the entire objective to CoWork. So you're going to go into your Copilot for Business chat, that sort of central landing page where you go to use Copilot as your thinking helper. And over here, you're going to see if you are using CoWork, or if you've invested or your customers have, you're going to see a toggle between chat and CoWork. So we're going to select CoWork. You're going to see that Work IQ is listed. That means it's getting context from everything. Remember when I defined Work IQ for you? It's the context for you and what you do day to day that's kind of living in your AI here. So I think instead of like maybe where some people would ask Copilot to summarize my activities, CoWork is different, right? She's going to assign the entire business problem, review my partner activities, analyze communications, review performance, review events, review plans, identify risks, find opportunities, and create recommendations, prepare an executive briefing. So what you'll notice happens is that CoWork would immediately create a plan. It's going to do all of that for her, and it's going to generate outcomes for her, right? So it'll give you like, hey, here's the 5 slides I think you should create based on all of this, different information that's located all over your Microsoft Graph. And I, drafted the 3 agendas for the next 3 meetings so that you guys can be looking ahead. And it's happening all in one outcome, right? It's not separate answers to separate questions. So let's look at, and I highlighted this too, because a lot of people don't know. They'll say, well, what do you like, ChatGPT or you like Copilot? And I'm like, well, I use Copilot, but it's built on ChatGPT, right? And they're like, well, I really like Claude. Well, you've got Claude built into Copilot, right? Like it's all one kind of system that we're building in the Copilot, or that we're building on in the Copilot platform. So it's not really one or the other anymore. So just wanted to qualify that. So what happens next? CoWork begins gathering context. It's going to look through all those communications, marketing plans, partner activities, business reviews, training, events, blah, blah, blah. And then it's going to identify patterns. What's going well? What's behind schedule? What's improving? Where are the new opportunities emerging? And instead of returning 50 separate summaries, CoWork starts connecting the dots. It's inferring, right? It's connecting the dots between all of the different information. Then something really important happens. CoWork checks back in, which is to say you're not in it. You left, right? Because you're in a meeting. You are working on something else. You've blocked out time to catch up on emails. You are rehearsing your keynote speech for next week. You're doing something else. CoWork is your agent that's doing this for you in the background while you are doing something else. So occasionally it provides a progress update. Work completed, findings identified, recommended next actions. It's your stay in the loop moment, right? And CoWork is going to continue to provide that for you. So it checks in with you. Then we move from analysis to action. CoWork generates deliverables. So is that an executive summary or a partner action plan, talking points for your upcoming business review? My favorite is recommended next actions, because I'm always looking for we did this, what's next? And look at how this maps to Paula's role. Because she did the same thing. She said, hey, here's what I have coming up tomorrow. And here's my responsibilities, my challenges, my needs, my wants. So it's inferring all of what it's going to create for her, and its output is considering all of that. It knows everything about Paula's role and what her responsibilities are. So if we look at the three, potential outcomes here, there's three responsibilities noted: managing partners, coordinating go-to-market activities, and optimizing investments. And this is the outcome that these results it got from CoWork actually map to Paula's responsibilities. And then here is how it maps to specific challenges that Paula has. All back from her saying, hey, I've got this business review coming up, and I need to be able to provide these things for my leadership. So this is just to show you how it is inferring the right context to give the right output for Paula, specifically, right, for her day-to-day. So Paula doesn't ask CoWork for a report. Paula delegates a business problem. Okay, the outcome isn't information. The outcome is business readiness. She's going to go in ready to support leadership discussions, okay, for that session. So this slide shows you exactly what that experience looks like. So I actually was using Copilot, so you'll see some information is redacted in here. Sunday night, as typical, our team gets a Teams notification from our director. Hey, schedule a one-on-one with me for this Tuesday. Here's the agenda, what I want to cover. Okay, it's Sunday night. I've got a week full of meetings. And this is my first one-on-one, right, with my new director. So I am like, I got to prioritize this and make sure that I'm ready. But I don't have time to build some really thoughtful, intentional, succinct summary for my one-on-one. So instead, immediately, I'm thinking CoWork, right? So I took the agenda that my director prepared for me. I dropped it into CoWork, and I said, help me prepare for my meeting with Brennan. That's it. Then CoWork gathered context from meetings and files and a variety of communications and priorities, ongoing initiatives. And the output wasn't a summary. The output's an executive briefing, right? Decisions, priorities, risks, guidance requests, recommended talking points. And then I have it. And I'm able to look like a freaking rock star, right? Because I was like, hey, Brennan, great. Looks good. I sent you the meeting invite for Tuesday at 2, and here's what we should discuss. Here's a slide. That is better outcomes. And we're no longer just generating content, right? We're generating decisions, because now we've got this sort of central component that Brennan and I are ready to go in and discuss when we have that one-on-one session. And this happened automatically, right? So here's the chat thread, and then boom, once Copilot was finished, collating all this information and creating a summary, it pops open in the right side of your screen so that you can review the content, you can download it, and it's all editable, right? So this is a PowerPoint slide. It's just a PowerPoint slide. And it built all that information together, gathering from various places. I can download it, tweak it as I see fit, right? Okay, so let's move from delegation to specialization. So everything that we've talked about so far is focused on helping an individual. Agents can do something different. Agents can turn expertise into a reusable business asset. So again, think of an agent as a specialist. One audience, one purpose, one job. The goal isn't to create a super agent, right, that can do everything. The goal is to solve one repeatable problem exceptionally well. And that's what we are about to try to do. So let's imagine that we want to build, again, a partner readiness agent. The job is simple. We want to help partners understand program requirements, find the resources, and identify next steps. That's it. It's very valuable, but it's very simple, right? The audience is defined, the outcome is defined. I will define the knowledge sources, the boundaries are defined. And notice we're not starting with the technology, we're starting again with a business scenario, what we want to accomplish. Then we test it. What training applies to my role, right? Where can we find approved materials? Where do I need to complete first? Or what do I need to complete first? And we also test boundaries. So once we build it, we kind of go in and we test it. We pepper it with these prompts and these questions. If we want to test the boundaries, we say, well, give me confidential roadmap information. And good agents are just as important for what they refuse to do as to what they agree to do, right? That's why so much of this is we're building trust around our agents. So here's Paula back, and she crushed her one-on-one with her director, and now she sees an opportunity to build an agent, but for a new specific task. So we want to apply possibly the same concept to Teams rooms, right? Which is a lot of why we're all here today. Imagine that maybe you don't have to imagine too hard. Maybe you already are a reseller partner. But if you're not, imagine you're a reseller partner for Microsoft. Most organizations, or maybe, have a limited number of room design experts. This is going to get very specific to what our business unit is. So hold tight with me and go along. You'll see the application, even if this is not your exact business model or business core business. So if we have a limited number of room design experts, but part of our core business is designing conference rooms and Teams rooms, the problem is that those experts may spend their day answering the same room standardization questions again and again. Small room, medium room, basic recommendation, standard deployment, repeat, right? So the opportunity could be here potentially, this is hypothetical, but a good example. The opportunity here is capturing that expertise once and making it available everywhere. So the purpose of an Express Install Room Designer agent could be just that, right? We've talked about Express Install before. So an agent becomes valuable because of its knowledge, not because of its prompt, not because of its personality, not because of its name, because of its knowledge. And for this agent, we'd ground recommendations in things like product catalogs, licensing information, room standards, Express Install rules, certified bundles, service offerings, deployment guidance, et cetera. And this allows every recommendation to be consistently aligned with approved information. Anyone who goes to use this agent is going to have the same base of knowledge sources to get the same consistent type of measurable results. So the agent is applying expertise consistently. And here's how that experience works. The agent asks questions first. Maybe how many people use the room? What are the dimensions? Is it fixed or flexible? Single or dual display? Is Express Install being considered? Are managed services required? And then only after gathering context does it begin to make recommendations. So it's gathering information, then based on its knowledge sources and the information it got back from its questions, it can build responses for you. So after that, it provides room type, bundle, licensing, deployment, services opportunities, and rationale. So you can see how closely this mirrors a potentially like room designers that may be in use today for some of you if you're ahead of the game. So we're not replacing expertise. We are scaling expertise, right? So that we can do more and help more people with more opportunities. So everything that we've discussed so far can be accomplished using Agent Builder. But eventually, organizations want more. And that's when Copilot Studio becomes relevant. Maybe the agent needs real-time inventory. Well, maybe it needs pricing. Maybe it needs CRM integration. Maybe it needs to generate proposals automatically. Maybe it needs to schedule follow-up meetings or follow-up activities. Maybe it needs to create quotes. Beyond that, or at that point, we're moving beyond the knowledge sources that it's grounded in, the product catalog, et cetera, that we built the agent on originally. So now we're moving into business processes and systems integrations. That's where a tool called Copilot Studio comes in. Agent Builder helps us start. Copilot Studio helps us scale. So let me give you some, a template. Paula's back. She's going to build an express install room designer in Agent Builder. So I have built out some prompts for you. Let me show you what this looks like. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because we've got just a few more minutes of time before I hand it to Peter. So you're going to go again back into your Copilot for Business Chat application. On the left, you're going to see is agents. You're going to click Add, Create New. And you do not have to be a developer, right? So don't be shy about hitting that Create New button. If I can do it, you can do it. Agent Builder is included in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Okay, so probably a lot of you have this already. You open Copilot, select Agents, choose Create New, you're ready to start. And I love this as an example of democratizing AI, right? So historically, building something like this would require developers, custom code, infrastructure, testing, deployment. But today we're beginning with plain English, a prompt, right? And in just a few minutes, I think you'll see how quickly expertise can become a reusable AI teammate for you and your teams. So this is a screen where the magic kind of starts. What happens after you click Create New Agent? You're going to give it a title. You're going to describe it. And you are going to give it instructions. So you don't need to know how to configure it. Copilot is going to do all the configuration for you. You just need to know the job that it wants to do. The agent needs a purpose. It needs an audience. It needs boundaries. And it needs a desired outcome. And the more clearly you define that work, the better the agent becomes, right? So what we're really doing here is transferring expertise from an individual into a repeatable process. That is the builder mindset. So this is probably the most important slide in the agent section, right? So notice what I'm doing here. I'm not teaching the agent every team SKU. I'm not uploading a giant product catalog and hoping for the best. I'm teaching the agent a job. I'm asking discovery questions, understand the room, recommend the appropriate room type, recommend, express install eligibility, et cetera. But our prompt can get better, right? So here's probably an insufficient prompt. It's not enough information. It's not enough context. This is a little bit better. We're giving it a little bit more information, but here's the best, right? They build on each other. So instead of doing 3 iterations, make sure to do 1 complete prompt. This is a great example for how you might build this out, and feel free to try this, steal this prompt and try it. But everything kind of starts with the workflow, and then the knowledge comes later, right? So the lesson is that to take away is that successful agents are focused. Again, focused job, focused audience, focused outcome. That's why they work and are so scalable. Then you make the agent intelligent. We add our knowledge sources. So think of this as giving the agent your team's experience. Catalogs, deployment guides, room standards, licensing information, service offerings, approved presentations, FAQs. The important point here is trust. The agent isn't inventing recommendations or going out to the web to find or going to someone else's graph and looking. It's grounding recommendations in approved knowledge. It is only going to provide output that is based in the resources that you are giving it to ground itself in, right? And that's, again, how we can create consistency across the organization. Okay, so knowledge tells the agent what it knows. Skills tell the agent what it can do. So from our, maybe you want to add a skill of proposal writer. help me write a proposal based on the recommended room type for this. Give me a services attached advisor. Give me a room qualification checker. So they're all tied directly to revenue opportunities. Proposal writer helps us accelerate customer communication. The qualification checker helps us identify maybe as express install or a complex room integration required. And then when you're building your first agent, think about adding skills that create measurable business value for you. Those are the skills that you want to focus on. So I'm going to kind of skip through these last couple of slides. You can come back to this. When you go in to create your first agent, use these as a template. I've given you example prompts to use for every step of creating your agent. So give it a try. Everyone will have access to this deck, and then it'll be, of course, on my YouTube channel as well. But really quickly, just the mistake most organizations make is that they try to build 10 agents before they have validated one. We don't want to do that. We want to build one useful agent for one problem, one audience, one outcome, then learn from the adoption, improve it, refine it, expand it. The first win should be obvious and easy to explain, and that is what creates momentum. Okay. Okay. So really quickly, the through line for Microsoft Teams rooms. This is really the entire reason for this From Copilot to Conference Room series. Everything that we've discussed today and in all the former and future sessions it leads here. Copilot becomes a habit. That habit creates expectations, and those expectations create room demand. So when people use Copilot and AI tools before meetings, they expect AI support when they walk into a meeting and when they walk out of that meeting and have the asset of the knowledge and the discussion that they had in that meeting. When we use AI during meetings, we expect the room experience to support that type of capability. When we use it after the meeting, we expect continuity. We want that information to be included in all of our context, our work IQ, right? So that everything that we've talked about today is built on the best context available, right? So here's the important part. The room is no longer separate from the workflow. The room becomes part of the workflow, and we don't want it to be a bottleneck. Copilot adoption and Teams rooms growth are connected. Again, the adoption creates the expectation creates the room demand. That's the through line, right? Connecting AI productivity and intelligent collaboration spaces. So with that, I'm going to take a breath and a drink of water. I would happy to hand it over to my friend Peter from Barco. I think a lot of these experiences that I've talked about ultimately show up in the way that people collaborate. We want to be able to rely on AI to prepare and participate, make decisions, et cetera. And that is where our partner ecosystem and Barco come into the story. So I'm excited to hand things over to you, Peter, to please share your perspective on intelligent collaboration spaces, how organizations can create environments that support the next generation of AI-powered work. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Amanda. And indeed, it will be as no surprise that AI is reshaping the way you work, and you are demonstrating that very powerfully in this training. And we see that organizations are investing a lot in AI. There are big investments that organizations are making into AI. Yet we see that organizations are struggling to translate that into measurable, value at the moment. And if we look to how AI is transforming how companies operate, we've seen this evolution, right? When you start out with experimenting, you start out with learning, you define the initiatives to help grow the adoption of AI. We see that now AI is becoming more of a company-wide strategy. A company-wide strategy where organizations are looking to see where they can embed AI to create that value. And the goal that they set is clear. They want to have an AI-powered workplace where people can work more efficient and make better decisions. That is a very powerful strategic decision for the future. But what a lot of organizations forget is that a lot of work actually happens in meetings. And as AI and agents are taking up more of the work that we are doing, it's becoming more and more also important to view the work that is happening inside the meeting. We are sharing information in meeting, making decisions and assigning tasks, and that is very important work. So when AI comes to that part of our work, it is important, and we see that the meeting and the meeting space really emerges as a true AI endpoint. And what makes the meeting as a place special is that it is a place where it marries, you could say, the physical and the digital world into one moment and one space. And this is where a fundamental shift begins. For AI to deliver its value, it really must understand what goes on within the meeting. So it needs to be able to see who is speaking, the flow of the conversation. It needs to understand the interaction that is going on between the participant. Understand the content that's being shared, or maybe that's being created within the meeting and the collaboration that is existing. For that, it really needs to grasp that context in order to be able to assign, yes, I understand that that task was assigned to you, or that decision was made by the group of people, in order to indeed be able to support you and to follow up and follow through on the execution of the things that were decided within that meeting. So in short, you see that AI needs a richer context than what we have with, and this requires for us, you could say, a new approach in how we are designing meeting spaces. We need to be sure that we design meeting spaces that have this mindset. However, we see that in most organizations, the meeting room as such today is not yet designed for this rich AI context. We have seen the meeting room evolve, right? You know, the introduction of the whiteboard, you know, when the display was introduced and we needed to change. The last iteration was a big evolvement after 2020, when there was a huge evolvement to video enablement of meeting rooms. And this is a bit the status where most organizations have their meeting rooms. They are being equipped for video conferencing. And then the next step comes indeed that we need to make sure that these spaces now also make that evolution to be able to work with that richer AI content to make that next step. So how can organizations transform the meeting rooms that they've designed for video conferencing today to actually make that shift into AI-ready environments? And one step, and then you could say, borrowing what Amanda also said, is that you need to adopt in the right software layer, the intelligence layer that brings continuity from the moment when you were doing individual work and you actually come together to make sure that you have an operating layer inside your room system that can capture this richer context, that can follow the discussion, that understands the content is being shared, and is able to actually also bring that all together into these intelligent meeting recaps that we now see. And there Microsoft is helping us big time with Microsoft Teams rooms. And this is, you could say, that starting point. But what we see is that gradually the meeting room is also shifting to actually become a participant, an active participant towards this collaboration inside the meeting room, but also prior to that, in that continuum. It helps us to better prepare for the meeting, to better prepare to have that better discussion than inside the room. Once we're inside the room, it helps us to facilitate the discussions, make us aware of the time, make us aware on what decisions are still open, tasks that still need to be assigned, but also after the meeting, when we need to follow through, follow up on actions to make sure that our work gets done. And this is where MTR plays a vital role. And something that sometimes people don't fully they underestimate it a little bit is the potential of such a software platform when it comes to being future ready. When video-enabled meeting rooms were installed, they were basically chosen like, this is the set of capabilities. Let's fix that now, deploy it, and then for the next 3 to 5 years, that's the capabilities we have. While with MTR, of course, we see the evolution of AI and agents is going very rapidly, much more rapidly than the evolution of meeting room technology. So we need to make sure to choose platforms that actually can be updated with future software capabilities. So you want to have a good basis that actually is able to update and keep there and being able that it can support all the new AI features as they come available, so you can adopt them without having to, you could say, change infrastructure. And that's a very important step. But then if we transfer from, you could say, the software layer to that infrastructure, this is where Barco steps in with our ClickShare Hub, which is a native MTR solution, where we bring this all together and how we can make sure that the Microsoft Teams room can enter your meeting room. Because that's an important part. The ClickShare Hub can bring the Microsoft Teams room into your meeting spaces today. So if you have meeting rooms that are equipped for video conferencing, the modular architecture of the ClickShare Hub enables you to actually leverage the technology that you already applied before. Adding actually the compute of the ClickShare Hub makes you introduce the Microsoft Teams capability and enabling you to tap into that continuous workflow that you now have with the AI power tools, and the ability to then actually have meeting rooms that will stand the test of time and can be updated both on the Microsoft Teams level as well as the ClickShare level from Barco. Because, yeah, it is important when you look at a meeting room, it's a power of a modular architecture that you actually can fit it with the best possible AV setup. Because it's important, if you want your AI agent in the room to have a very good grasp of what's going on, the sensory data is important. If you look at an agent as being a brain that can process, it needs the right eyes and ears into the meeting room. So if you can tailor the way you capture the images, the way you capture sound into in the room, to tailor that towards your room, and you have the best possible setup to actually make sure that the AI agent that's running in your room or the AI system can work at its best. And that's why we are offering various bundles. You, of course, with a big meeting room like what you see here with a ceiling mic, and it can work with multiple displays and etc., with multiple cameras. But also if you have, for example, a smaller meeting room, yes, in a small meeting room, you don't need actually all that advanced AV technology. Then there are smart solutions like an all-in-one bar, like the bundles we have with Sennheiser for our for the small to medium rooms that are certified for Microsoft Teams, as well as the comparable bundles that we have with Hudley, with the Hudley C1, for example, or as well with the Logitech Meetup 2. So you see that with the ClickShare Hub, you have a lot of possible brands that you can combine, and you can then match it with the AV peripherals to make sure that AI can capture everything that's needed to support you in these workflows. And of course, there are many more bundles right now in the pipeline, and that's going to come soon. So our element that we add as well to making a great meeting is to also make sure that these smart meetings that you get with AI support, that we make them effortlessly. Because if the moment you are, for example, not able to easily share content or share your screen, and you avoid from interacting with your colleagues, then there is no AI system that will be able to help you. So we make sure that these smart meetings also remain simple. And that's why we have some couple key ingredients in a ClickShare system, and that's our signature button, making it very easy for you. If you want to share, simply pick up a button in your laptop and you can share content very easily into the system. And of course, we combine that with the MTR solution, where it's of course very easy. With a single touch of the button, you join and you leave the meeting. So bringing actually our way of integrating and coupling with the AV of the meeting room system, making sure that you have the controls and the tools to visualize it on one or multiple screens, or to bring content in and out of the meeting and make that very easy. We are actually making sure that, the way you run the meetings becomes very simple, and it also becomes very simple to actually welcome the whole AI intelligence layer into your collaboration, offering you, you could say, all the ways that you actually want to work. And with that, Amanda, I would like to give the word back to you.
Thank you. I think that is such an important, component. We talk a lot about the intelligence of the room, the asset of the room being the knowledge that was shared in the room, but really it does still come down to the device components too, because the output of the room is only as good as the devices and the peripherals that you have in the room to capture the speakers and what they're saying and the identity of the speakers. And so to make that fluid, to make it easy, to make it seamless and repeatable, at scale, with Barco, I think it's really important to consider that. And I love the future proofing, right? So many organizations that are investing in Copilot, for example, aren't ready to modernize every room. So of course, there's going to be phases. They're going to select the highest impact rooms now, but if we can try to future proof and modernize rooms as we go, and with devices that provide future proofing for when they are completely ready to deploy Copilot across their organization and modernize every meeting room, it's not going to be such a leap. So I appreciate those comments, and thank you so much for being here, Peter. It's great to see you. I appreciate you and all of your expertise and information. And what time is it in Belgium?
Well, now it's 8 in the evening.
We're going to let you enjoy your evening, Peter. Thank you. Thanks to everybody for being here. I so appreciate your participation. Stay tuned for the 202. It's right around the corner. I will be posting information about that soon. For those of you that are already registered, it will show up magically in your calendar. So no chances to miss it. So I will see you then. Thanks again for joining. Have a great night, Peter. Thanks for being here. I look forward to seeing you guys next time on From Copilot to Conference Room. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.